You remember her silence, not the one filled with softness, but the one that felt like snow just before it buries the earth. You told yourself it was peace, but something colder watched you from behind her eyes. You held out kindness like a flame cupped in both hands, and still, she drifted toward the one who offered no warmth at all. Why? You don't speak of it, but you've seen it again and again. A man who gives without demand, a man who listens, a man who does not conquer, and each time he is dismissed like a poem no one finishes. She smiles. She thanks him. Then she disappears. There is something in her that recoils from gentleness. You feel it, and you feel it twist something inside you. You begin to wonder if peace is what she wants, or if she only finds herself in chaos, in cruelty, in danger. It's not your fault you feel this way, but it is your fate to face it. You thought love would reward your tenderness. You thought a quiet room, a gentle voice, a patient ear would be enough. You thought if you showed her you were safe, she would stay, but you were mistaken. Safety, for her, is not sanctuary. It is suffocation, not because you are wrong, but because she does not believe she deserves peace. And so, your kindness became unbearable, not for what it lacked, but for what it exposed. You offered her a mirror without distortion. She could not look. She smiled when you opened your heart, not because she welcomed it, but because she felt the pressure of pretending. She nodded when you made plans, not because she hoped, but because she feared disappointing you. Your calmness made her restless. Your availability made her doubt. You gave her everything she thought she wanted, and it terrified her, because in your eyes, she saw a world where she could stop running, and she's not ready to stop. There is a storm in her, one that predates you, a chaos she feeds in secret. She has learned that love must be earned through pain, that affection is given by the cruel and withheld by the indifferent. Her childhood taught her this, her past lovers confirmed it, and when you came, gentle and open, you shattered the pattern but not the belief. So she held you briefly, then pulled away like a hand from something too hot. Your warmth was foreign. She only trusts the cold. You didn't notice at first. She still replied, still laughed at your jokes, still answered your calls. But something in her had already gone. You became the one she should love, not the one she must have. You were dependable, not desirable. You were understanding, not unforgettable. And each act of empathy became a nail in the coffin of her fascination. She needed friction. You gave her calm. She needed to struggle. You gave her peace. And peace, to her, felt like death. She doesn't know she's doing it, not consciously. But part of her scans for danger, for dominance, for the familiar scent of emotional violence. Because that's where her desire lives, not in love, but in the chase, the ache, the drama. She confuses chaos for passion, control for devotion, absence for allure. So when you waited patiently, she called it weakness. When you communicated, she labeled it neediness. When you made space for her soul, she questioned your masculinity. You see her now with someone else. He's cold, detached, charismatic in the way a predator is charismatic, poised, watchful, uninvested. And she glows for him. She waits for his approval. She craves his rejection. Each time he pulls away, she leans in. Each time he wounds her, she forgives. He offers her nothing real, and she worships the emptiness. You stand on the shore, watching her swim into a storm, and she smiles as it swallows her. You want to save her. You think if she could just see what you offer, the peace, the stability, the love without condition, she would return. But she sees it. She saw it from the beginning. That's why she left. You don't need to change. You need to understand she was never looking for peace. Not yet. Maybe not ever. And so you wait, you wonder, you doubt yourself. You think maybe if you had been more assertive, less available, more mysterious. But those thoughts are poison. You are not a mask to wear. You are a man. Your strength is not in withholding. It is in refusing to play a game you didn't invent. You are not the failure here. You are the mirror she couldn't bear to face. Still, you ache because you remember how she looked at you in the beginning. The softness, the curiosity, the promise. You thought it meant something lasting, but for her, it was a performance not out of malice, but out of habit. She knows how to mimic closeness. She knows how to echo your hopes, but she cannot sustain it, not when it becomes real, because real love requires self-recognition, and she does not yet see herself as worthy. You offer depth, she seeks escape. You build, she wanders. You speak the language of devotion, she listens for chaos. It's not that she prefers cruelty, it's that cruelty matches her inner world. When a man hurts her, it aligns with what she already believes, that she is unlovable, broken, expendable. But when a man cherishes her, really sees her, stays with her, builds with her, she short-circuits, because it contradicts her entire identity. So she leaves before the illusion crumbles, before your love proves she was wrong about herself, before she's forced to question every story she's clung to since girlhood. She walks away not from you, but from the threat of transformation. And in doing so, she returns to the familiar wound, because even pain, when repeated enough, feels like home. You are not here to fix her. You are not here to win her. You are here to see clearly, and what you see is this. Her rejection was not cruelty, it was her limit. You crossed into a territory she has not yet built within herself. And so, she fled. The world will tell you to be colder next time, to pull back, to act uninterested, to manipulate. But that is not your path. You are not a puppet master, you are a man. And if your love is not welcomed, not respected, not valued, it is not because you are less. It is because she has not yet learned to receive without fear. Let her go, not in bitterness, not in anger, but in clarity. Let her chase the storm, let her dance in the destruction. You will not follow, because you know now love cannot be forced. Peace cannot be given to one who feeds on war. You do not punish her, you do not blame her, but you no longer betray yourself to reach her. There is a silence you must now walk into, not the silence of rejection, but the silence of understanding. It will not comfort you, it will not heal you, but it will strip you of illusion. And in that stripping, something harder, truer, colder will grow, not bitterness, but lucidity. You thought love meant being chosen. Now you see it means choosing not to disappear when you are not. It means standing in your own storm, not chasing hers. She smiled before she vanished. Let that smile be the last lie you believe. There was never peace in her eyes, only the calm before she burned the bridge. And you are done crossing into fire. You gave her the space to breathe, not knowing she mistook stillness for suffocation. You listened, thinking your presence would be enough, but the silence you built together only echoed louder. The voices inside her she had never answered. You held her gaze with honesty, and all she saw was herself, unguarded. That was the beginning of the end. Not because you failed her, but because you revealed her. She looked at you as if she was there, but she wasn't. What stood before you was a projection, a delicate surface onto which she cast her own need for salvation. In the beginning, you were everything she longed for, not because you were real, but because she hadn't yet collided with your depth. You were a canvas, and once you spoke from the center of your being, Once you invited her in with no masks, no chase, no control, she turned cold, not because she stopped loving you, but because you made her real, and she wasn't ready for that. In her world, love must come with a hierarchy. Someone must beg, someone must dominate, someone must hurt. She has never loved without fear. She does not know how. So when you stood before her, not pleading, not controlling, but simply present, you broke the pattern. You removed the game, and with that, you removed the meaning she'd always assigned to love. Without suffering, how could it be real without jealousy, without drama, without tests? How could it be powerful? You thought you were giving her security. She felt it as exposure. Every kind word you offered laid bare the fractures inside her. Every honest moment revealed a lack of trust she couldn't explain. She grew distant, not because you lost her, but because you became too real to be ignored and too unfamiliar to be safe. The mirror no longer reflected the fantasy. It reflected her, stripped of seduction, of strategy, of survival, and that was unbearable. You see her now posting smiles that don't reach her eyes, dressed in chaos once again. The man beside her does not understand her. That's precisely why she clings to him, because understanding is confrontation, and confrontation is a mirror she has long avoided. He does not see her, and so she is free to play, to seduce, to retreat. There is no risk of being known, only the thrill of being noticed briefly, violently, and from a distance. She once told you she wanted something real, but real is not what she meant. She wanted intensity. She wanted volatility disguised as vulnerability. And you gave her calm. You gave her depth. You gave her the kind of devotion that asks nothing and offers everything. And in that offering, she saw her own emptiness. Not because she was unworthy, but because she had never truly filled herself. Her beauty was currency, her silence, control, her smile, a tool, but none of it worked on you. You didn't ask her to perform, you asked her to be. There is a cruelty in gentleness when it meets a wounded soul, because the wounded soul must choose heal or run. She ran, and now you are left holding all the questions she never stayed to answer. You wonder what you lacked, why your warmth repelled, why your patience felt like pressure to her. But you are asking the wrong questions. You should be asking why you believed she could accept what she had never even seen in herself. She never hated you. That would be simpler. What she felt was closer to disintegration. You were a mirror that refused to shatter. And that kind of reflection is too much for someone who only recognizes herself through distortion. When you looked at her and said, "I see you," what she heard was, "You can't hide here," and she needs to hide. Her entire identity depends on it. You stayed. That was your crime. You didn't disappear. You didn't withdraw. You didn't punish her for her distance. You waited. You remained open. You became unshakable. And in doing so, you became unbearable. Because a woman who only knows the high of being chased does not know what to do with a man who is simply there, who does not tremble, who does not beg, who does not play. You tried everything but betrayal, and that was your final mistake. Because betrayal, even small subtle forms, is what she's attuned to. A sudden silence, a cold shoulder, a retreat. These are the languages she understands. They mirror the abandonment she grew up inside. They make her feel something. Not love, but at least recognition. But you didn't speak that dialect. You stayed too long in peace, and she heard it as indifference. You gave too much without drama, and she saw it as emptiness. You loved her without asking her to perform, and in that, you vanished not in presence, but in meaning. Now you walk through your days like a ghost, not destroyed, but hollowed. The worst part isn't the absence of her, it's the absence of reflection. You look into every new face, every fleeting connection, wondering if they will see you. But they don't, because you have become the very mirror she fled from. Clear, quiet, relentlessly honest, you offer truth now, and truth, for most, is unbearable. You have not become cruel, but you have become cold, not out of vengeance, but out of necessity. Because now you know not everyone wants to be loved. Some only want to be desired, and desire feeds on distance, on pain, on the forbidden. Love, by contrast, demands presence, intimacy, vulnerability, and to those who have never stood inside that kind of light, it feels like fire. So you wait, not for her return. That illusion has crumbled. You wait for someone who does not flinch when you do not hide. You wait for someone who will not retreat from the mirror. And in the meantime, you remain not unchanged, but unwilling to betray what you now know. That peace is not the absence of pain. It is the refusal to chase those who need pain to feel alive. She was never yours, not truly. She was a lesson dressed in beauty, a reflection without substance, a storm behind a smile. You tried to give her peace. She ran to the war. Let her stay there. She chose it. She always will. Now, when you see her again, if you ever do, and she tells you she remembers the way you made her feel, smile. Because you know what she really means. You made her feel visible, and for someone who lives behind masks, that was the most terrifying thing of all. She won't tell you she regrets it. She may not even know she does. But you will see it in her eyes, a flicker, a silence, a soft pause before she speaks. That is not love. That is recognition. She remembers the mirror, and she remembers why she smashed it. But you are no longer shattered. You are not waiting. You are not offering the same reflection twice. The mirror has changed. You have changed. She would not recognize you now, and that is the final freedom. You did not fall apart. That was the mistake she expected you to make. She thought your peace was a costume, your patience a strategy, your love a phase. She waited for the moment when you would unravel, shout, chase, accuse, become like the others, cruel, demanding, broken. But you didn't. You stood still, and that stillness wounded her more than rage ever could. You carried the rejection like a phantom limb, not visible, not gory, but it ached all the same. You moved through your days intact, but hollow. You laughed at the right times. You answered questions with practiced warmth. You made eye contact, and yet something was missing, not from your surface, but from your center. Something soft that had once leaned forward in trust, now curled inward. Watching, silent. This is the wound that does not bleed the knowledge that you were abandoned, not because you failed, but because you succeeded in loving purely. And that purity was too sharp for her skin, too real, too raw. She could not stay with the version of you that did not require chasing or punishment. And you, in offering it, lost the illusion that love, by itself, is enough. You know now that not all wounds arrive with betrayal. Some arrive with silence. Some arrive with the fading echo of a voice that once called you by name, and now calls no one. There was no final argument, no collapse. Only a slow withdrawal masked by courtesy. She made it seem mutual. It wasn't. She was already elsewhere, long before the door closed. You go on. Of course. You do. You are functional. You are admired. Friends praise your strength. But inside, you have stopped building bridges. You no longer send the full signal. You engage, but from behind glass. You meet new women, but your soul remains parked behind the last exit she passed. Not for her, for the lesson, for the echo, for the wound that you refuse to reopen by forgetting it exists. You're not bitter. That's the strange part. You don't even hate her. You understand her too well to hate her. You saw the trembling behind her charm, the way she flinched when kindness lingered, the way she panicked when you didn't play the role of the unreliable man. You did not watch her walk away. You watched her escape, and you understood, even as it crushed you, that she was not fleeing from you, she was fleeing from her own reflection in your stillness. You offered her the one thing she could not manufacture, reality. You gave her no hooks to hang her self-doubt on, and that left her floating, unanchored, lost. Because she knows how to survive disappointment. She does not know how to receive consistency. The cruelty of this truth is that you were exactly what she said she wanted, and exactly what she could never accept. So, you stop trying to prove yourself. That stage has collapsed. Now you observe. You see it in others in the way they speak about what they deserve, while avoiding what would nourish them. In the way they celebrate freedom, yet choose lovers who cage them. You see women flirt with men who ignore them, beg for crumbs, glorify danger, chase pain like it's a promise, and you feel a quiet distance open inside you. You are no longer part of that theater. Your love still exists, but it is folded now, tucked away. Not because you are scared, but because you understand its weight. And you will not lay it again at the feet of someone who mistakes it for a leash. You have learned the art of waiting not for her, not for anyone, but for alignment. You will not speak into a void again. You will not echo inside someone who cannot hold their own silence. You have changed, yes, but not into someone harder, into someone clearer. You no longer romanticize potential. You no longer believe that effort can heal another's unwillingness. You no longer confuse being chosen with being cherished. And in this clarity, there is grief, not just for her, but for the boy in you who once believed that being good would make you unforgettable. That boy is gone now, not dead, but integrated. He sits inside you with wiser eyes. He no longer hopes that love will be easy. He no longer clings to the idea that if you are gentle enough, she will stay. He has seen the truth, that some women do not want to be met. They want to be pursued, caught, released, and blamed. And none of that is love. You carry this knowing like a secret talisman. It keeps you from offering too much. It reminds you that some people do not flee cruelty, they need it. They are shaped by it. They are only able to feel inside its chaos. And you are no longer willing to enter their storm just to prove that you can love them there. You are not bitter, but you are done. Done explaining, done performing, done believing that love must be sacrificed to be real. Now, you walk differently, you say less. You give only what is reflected. And if there is no reflection, you do not wait for one to form. You move on. Not out of pride, but out of knowing. Knowing that love without reciprocity is not noble. It is wasteful. You remember her sometimes? Late at night? Not with longing, but with a strange tenderness, the way one remembers a dream that once felt like prophecy. You don't hate her, you just no longer make space for her ghost. You have rewritten the room, and when the next one comes, and she will, you will see her clearly. You will not fall for softness that vanishes when met. You will not confuse brokenness with beauty. You will wait. You will watch. And if she cannot stand still in your presence, you will not chase her. You will let her disappear. You will let the mirror remain empty, rather than fill it with illusions. This is not vengeance. This is discipline. This is the slow, brutal freedom of a man who no longer bleeds for the absence of chaos. A man who has seen the edge and stepped back, not because he was afraid, but because he finally saw that the fall was not romantic. It was just a fall. There are wounds that scream, and there are wounds that whisper. Yours is the latter, and it speaks only one word now: enough. You are not waiting anymore, not for her, not for love, not for recognition. You are simply standing, and for once, the silence does not ache. It surrounds you like armor, like a cold, honest sky. You've seen too much now to return to innocence, but not enough to lose faith entirely. Just enough to know that love, when it finally comes again, must arrive without performance, without chaos, without trembling. It must arrive without needing to be rescued from itself. And if it never comes, you will still be whole. There is no knock, no message, no apology, only a soft rustle in the mind, like a door that was never closed fully. You hear it when you're alone, when the lights are low, when the world forgets your name. A memory returns not of her face, but of the way you once believed. And in that echo, a question flickers, then vanishes. If she had stayed, would you still be asleep?